Okay, let's have a look at this little car here. So this is a GA suffix, G-Reg 1989 Vogue SE. Yes! It's in a state of complete strip down at the moment because the customer wants me to sort out front inner wings, sort out all this mess in here where sills have been welded over the top of old sills, sort the A posts out, the B posts out, and really just go over the thing and give it kind of a body shell makeover. Now, I'm having a bastard starting this thing, I'll be honest. When it arrived, the customer was having a bit of a bastard starting it as well. He'd had the distributor round and put the distributor back in again, and since then, he struggled to start it, I'm struggling to start it. Now, I put the distributor back where it should be, at top dead centre, and I'm still struggling to start it. Oh look, there's my earth leak there, I've been looking for that. So yeah, I earthed out the ignition amplifier. It's one of those weird things where I'm getting fuel supply, I'm getting a spark, but not necessarily in the right order, so nothing is lining up, which is a pain, but never mind. So I got most of the infrastructure off this wing now. As I say, it's not, I mean, it's a damn sight better than the wing that's on my car, but yeah, it's definitely time to get this sorted out. I'll replace all the brake lines. They look all to be copper. They're a mess, so I shall replace those. I'll just double check that the customer's aware I'm going to do that. For some reason, they've run one brake line down each chassis rail. They should basically both go down the right-hand chassis rail. Of course, if it was left-hand drive, they go down the left-hand chassis rail, but I can sort that all out. The only thing I can't do is I can't get the gearbox auto cooler undone. Now, it is leaking in the middle there. Very, 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 very light leaks. I'm inclined to leave it. I've undone the bolts either end. Basically use a 17mm socket on the top here, a 24mm socket on the nut. There's no way is it undoing. Not even close. And if I put too much load on it, I'm going to end up snapping it off here. I've never known one to be this tight. I put heat and everything into it, but it's going nowhere. And then I'm just about to start drilling all these spot welds out. Get this wing freed up and off. Yeah, quite a pleasant day. I've taken the deck off and then put the bonnet back on again. It just makes life a lot easier when you're undoing wings and so forth and decks and drilling through all these spot welds. There's a nice screw there, look at that. I know what that is. Interesting, interesting. Right, a few interesting features on this as well, because the aircon loom connects onto that big 7-pin connector over there, and on the later cars it runs right the way through, because the aircon runs up this side across the front, connects into whatever the radiator thing is called, and then around to this side onto the top of the pressure dryer and to the pump, because that's the only bit of loom really that goes right the way across the front. Everything else runs down each side for that particular side. There's a world of shite electric loom in here, mainly for the alarm, which was connected. Maybe the reason why I was struggling to get it started, I don't know. Anyway, it's disconnected now, but I don't know whether that's going to cause me a problem, which is why I've left it there like that. I know the ABS is disconnected. That was done ages ago. Right, drilling spot welds, then I can get this thing apart. I think. Luckily, there's enough give in the aircon that I can move the panel back to work on this side, and then when I'm doing the other side similarly, so I don't have to disturb the aircon, which is good. I didn't think I'd didn't think I would have to. That's all, you see, loose. Undone the bottom panel down here. Not done that side yet, but that'll need to come out and be painted, and then drilled through all of the spot welds along the top here, on the bottom, along the edge, cut through the welds that they put down that edge there. So all I need to do now is to do this section down here, but I need to get this wheel off, bleed the brakes down. I don't want to be making a huge mess with brake fluid. These brake lines are not the best. Well, that wasn't too much bother. some of this it's kind of like where it gets a little bit strange, this thing, because some of this stuff is kind of not the same as the LSE was, but then this car's 4 years older. So the way that the bottom panel fixes on is kind of a hybrid between the early bolt-on and the later spot weld on. The brackets for the aircon is different. Just pop that back there again. Oh, actually, that's not in very good order, that, is it, really? It's kind of disintegrating. I don't even know if this aircon has actually got any pressure in it. I probably need to just double check whether there is any pressure in it. So, this piece up here was spot welded in. That piece was pop riveted in. This piece was spot welded in. Weird, huh? And as far as I believe, they're original kind of wings to the car. They're not absolutely devastating, but yeah, I mean, by the time you've repaired all that, you might as well replace the bloody thing. They're not as bad as the ones on my car, for instance. Don't worry about the brake fluid dripping down there. That'll be cleared up later on. So I think the next thing really is to find out, because as I was poking around here, this has got all this nasty, plasticky underseal stuff on. Oh look, there's the inside of the car. And that's kind of up behind the aircon unit. Also, this mounting here is going to need some attention, I think. I've seen an awful lot better than that. So we might end up replacing the body mount, and a reasonable junction. A reasonable junction. Is that even a word, Richard? A reasonable chunk of the actual bulkhead section up here. This is all kind of the original underseal stuff that just, it's been around for 1,000 years. And then down here we've got welded in repairs, so MOT patch repairs. Bulkhead side, it's actually survived all down this edge, apart from the mounting holes where the what's its name goes on. So actually, I've seen a damn sight worse than this car. So really, it's going to be a case, I think, where I end up, let me suss out what's going on with the aircon first of all, and then I'm going to probably have to cut the aircon. I'm going to have to take the aircon pipes off and remove it from the vehicle. Because if it's not charged up, then there's no point, is there? I think Richie's got the kit to do that, so I should go and have a look. If he can just double check, so if there's any pressure in it, then I will remove it. A short while later. Aircon was completely empty. I've disconnected it. There's lube and shit in there, but there was nothing in it, no pressure whatsoever. So I've taken the, whatever the radiator bit in the front is for the aircon. I get confused with evaporators and condensers and shit like that. This sill is literally just tacked on, and on the top, what's that, every 8 inches or so? That's a beautiful job, that. And the hole is actually below the aircon unit, so I might be able to replace that or repair that properly, but without taking the entire dash up. I'm working from this side and using fire blankets, etc. So we'll see. I'd rather not take the dash out unless I absolutely have to. So I'm going to get this this shambles off next. I'm going to see what's going on under there, because I'm inquisitive like that. It's one of the more interesting MOT fixes I've seen in my time. So basically, blobber weld there, blobber weld there, a blobber weld there, a blobber weld there, and a blobber weld there. And as you can see, the fucking thing just fell off. It looks like they've tried to weld it there to the lip, but that said, the actual sill itself is nowhere near as bad as I was anticipating. Let's just get this piece off. It's like someone's used an outer sill section and just welded it on there. And underneath, there's a few localised holes. Here we've got a patch that's been better welded on, let's say. It's got a seam weld along the edge of it, so I'm going to cut the back section off here and see what's going on there, on the bottom of the B post. I'm not quite sure what the inner sill is like. But I'll tell you what, I could probably salvage that once it's all cleaned up. save a load of work, won't it? Arches, going to need arches at the back. And we're going to need some repairs to the floor in here. It's not uncommon. Before I start digging into that though, I want to just go a little bit further, see what's going on into this edge of the bulkhead down here. It's kind of gone the same way as the LSE has gone, but it's just been patched. We'll see what's going on. If it doesn't need cutting out, I won't cut it out, I'll just tidy it up. If it needs cutting out, I'll cut it out. That will definitely need to come off. This piece here probably will fall off, in fact. Let's just see if this falls off. Yes, it does. Look at that. Beautiful. Now we can see inside the sill. Bit of Uri Geller. Get off there, you bastard. Well, the bottom of the sill and the inside of the sill are actually clean. It's just full of shite. Well, that didn't take very long to get back to factory. So again, it was kind of welded along the top here, which is why I cut south of the weld, and it welded around the B post. But then it was just tacked on, plug welded onto the sill at the bottom, which, to be honest, is fair. If you're plug welding it like that, that's fine. I can live with that. So the repair at the back, good. This repair, however, which was just tacked every 8 inches along the top of the sill and nothing on the bottom, was not good. So this one at the back, having cut that out now, we can go back to factory. I'm fairly comfortable with that. What I'll do is I'll get a repair section. I'm going to cut the sill off level with the floor, and then I'll weld in a new sill section, seam weld it along the top edge, plug weld it along the bottom edge, make sure it goes in behind the B post. And I think we'll be okay with the back end. The front end here is actually more solid than it looks, so I'm going to have to go over it, treat the rust, and then work out what I'm going to do on the top here. That just really needs grinding back there to see what's going on there. And it looks like that there is a big patch that's gone in, because that doesn't look factory to me. Might be. I'll need to double check. But yeah, you can see why the cover went on there, but it's just MOT standard welding. It's what happens. You know, the car's probably getting on a bit in years, and there's a hole in the sill which it failed the MOT on, so great, we'll just weld a big patch over the top of it, which is fine if that's your thing. For me, I would have thought it would be just as much aggravation to cut the old sill off and weld a new one on, but sometimes jobs need to be done quick, don't they? And if the lifetime of a car is a decade, then perhaps that was a bit much for it. And here you can see the edge of that repair panel, which has been kind of welded up against the edge of the B post. So what I might end up having to do is to cut the B post off and then butt weld it back on again once I've taken the sill off. We'll see. At least I know where we are with that. I'm going to have a little dig into this in a minute, I think, see what's going on there. It does look a bit like it's been patched. Okay, so I've been over the old Duchess with Mr. Tappy, and really this is original floor down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill spot welds and detach floor from this section here. This actually is part of the sill, this piece here. It goes right the way across. So basically the sill section comes from down there, up around here, and then right the way across to about there. That's the full sill section. Now, I'm going to go over this. I'm going to take all of this shit off here. So basically this comes off like this, see? It just comes off. And, interestingly, it's got paint underneath it. Dead easy to get off. And I replace it once the work is complete with, there you can see the edge of the end of banging, you can see the edge of the sill there. So the sill will go from that point there. This is then the traditional area for the gearbox transmission cover. So in here, Mr. Tappy has been busy. Lift up the loom. Yeah, I think what I'm probably going to do here is so from this side, I'll just cut the rear brake line as well. From this side, everything from here up is in pretty good order, and everything from here down, and this is an original part here, is shocking. However, the damage doesn't extend too far over here, except for the damage to that body mounting there. So, part of me is saying, well, if we're going to do this and we're going to do this properly, then realistically I need to replace the body mounting, which is just drilling out the spot welds along here and around and about, and then put a new body mounting on, keep this piece as a reference point, and then cut the floor out and right the way out, and then weld in a new section. So we're leaving this piece here intact, and basically from this lip downwards we're going to replace. And what I can basically do then is I can put the metal up behind here and weld it onto the back of this piece here, because this piece up here, although it's kind of got surface rust on it, it's actually not the end of the world. So I can do that. This body mount is, yeah, body mount needs replacing on this side. It's not pretty. It's not pretty enough. I think by the time I've got it down, stripped down to this sort of level, to leave that like that, it's going to need it stripping down to this sort of level again in order to replace it. So, from that perspective, replace it. Now, as far as sill and everything is concerned, we're actually in fairly good order under here. Generally not horrific. I need to just, explore around here, and also on the inside of the A-post. Very similar to the work I did on the LSE, but this has had a big patch welded along here. I don't know if you can see. Can you see in here? Yeah, big patch welded along here, which is then compromised, and it looks like the patch has gone over. I'm going to have to probably talk this over because I'm just banging with my hammer, which is absolutely no use whatsoever. Now, if I'm going to replace the entire sill, which I don't think is needed because the majority of this sill is actually in really good order, then I would basically want the seat box free of the floor by drilling spot welds here and here, lift the seat box out of the way, weld in the new sill up to this point over here. Let's just see. Well, that's passed the Mr. Tappy test there because it's just basically surface rust. So Mr. Tappy's passed over here, and this is, we're not being shy here, but if we're going to find an area which is going to corrode, we really want to find it. Now I might be inclined just to chop, because obviously this is the original factory sound deadening here, and I think that that is just where surface moisture has got caught in there, which I'm okay with. So on the inside here we've got the body mounting, which is about here. Body mounting is about that sort of area. It's behind this reinforced plate, and all of this area on the bulkhead is actually quite good. All the rot is inside of it. So I guess the problem I've got now is that the amount of welding I've got to do here, and the loom and so forth, I'm inclined to drop the heater unit, the aircon unit down, and see where I'm going to go with it. It's not very pretty, is it? So I've been trying to sort of unstitch this thing, basically taking MOT patches off, as you've seen, nasty welded patches over the inside, etc, 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 and I've ended up with actually quite a solid outer sill section, apart from a tiny piece at the front here and a tiny piece at the back here. However, the floor is suffering, and this area here, from here outwards, is part of the original sill section. Now the problem I'm getting here really is that the more that I go into this thing, the more some of this surface rust, especially over the top of the sill, or where this reinforced L section that the pipes sit on, is starting to get a bit more and more compromised. It's actually looking like, really, it wouldn't be a bad idea to replace the top section of the sill from front to back, but it needs quite a few spot welds drilling out, especially around the seatbelt box here, which is at the bottom of the B post, which I'm going to have to drill off and take off, because I need to kind of get this piece out in order that I can get the floor underneath it out, which is compromised kind of all around. If we go and get Mr. Tappy, let's go into the workshop and get Mr. Tappy. Mr. Tappy. That there, you can see, has blown in between the bracket and here. So realistically, I'm thinking that this bracket needs to come off, drop it down right the way from front to back in order to address some of the issues where it's blown in between. Otherwise I'm going to do all this work, you see, and we've still got, like you see there where I've cut the floor away, you can see the top of the bracket remains the old floor, the top of the bracket, and it's all just covered in surface rust. So do we do this thing such that I take everything off up until here, from front to back, so it's basically the entire sill, top outer sill section, and then weld it all back on properly, or it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because at the moment we're just going to end up with a similar patchwork of repairs if we're not careful. Now the actual rear body mounting, ignore that piece of metal there which is quite sharp, that I'm going to bend that off. The actual rear body mounting here looks nasty, but is actually in quite good shape. So the end of the sill, again, quite solid down there, not going anywhere, just this piece here. So the majority of the sill, apart from the floor, the upper top section is in fairly good order. It's just this top section. I'm going to carry on drilling out spot welds anyway and see where it goes. See where it goes. Now, this piece up here, I'm thinking that this big old patch here has actually been welded. No, it hasn't. I can feel the lip underneath where it's been kind of, someone's cut the rot out and then welded that piece in. So I don't know, I probably might be inclined to leave that as it is. Just tidy up seam seal underneath. And then at the back here and underneath here, where these things rot horrendously, it's all been welded already. So arch is open. Let's concentrate on sill, Richard. Let's not dig too far into this. We're going to do this passenger side sill. I'm going to drill all these spot welds out along here. Now, drilling spot welds, all I really do is just using something like a 4mm drill. Just put a little indentation in there, like that. And then I use one of these things. You notice I've written top on the top there because every time I open this thing up, I'm tipping it upside down. So these fellas, they're brilliant at drilling spot welds out, and effectively what you do is you drill through as soon as you see the shower of rusty kind of steel come up. In fact, let's show you. Right, so there we are. So position him in the hole, nice and slow to start off with. Wouldn't you know, the battery's gone flat on the drill. You get the idea. 1 second. Fresh drill. Right, we'll try again. There, see the rusty steel come up? So as soon as you get that brown deposit around here, for now, around the outside. There we go. You know you're through it. So really now then, once I've done all of these, I get under there with a chisel. I just lift the floor section up. Now, if you don't drill the pilot hole, you have got a centre punch in here. I probably need to change this a bit blunt, but the drill will walk around a bit like that. See? So that's why I drill the pilot hole first of all. Just gives this thing a little bit better. Probably needs to change the point on that because I think it is actually a bit blunt. And I've been using it fairly extensively. So I'll go drill all of these out, get this floor section out, see what this L section like is doing under here, and then we can actually get this car fighting fit for another fair while. And then while I'm at it, I might as well take all of these spot welds out down here, because rather than butt welding up to this, I'd rather put in a complete sheet of steel from there to the outer edge of the sill, if not the entire outer sill. We'll see. We'll see where we go with this. Depends what's easier, depends what's quicker. It's actually quite time consuming to get that all off, but largely because of the extra kind of welds that have been put here and there and everywhere. I've not done all this area down here yet. So there's a couple of observations. First and foremost, that the transmission tunnel cover, everything from that point that way is fine, apart from this tiny piece up here which I can sort out. not a problem. The inner sill, on the whole, I thought was actually okay. When we're looking at the outer sill section, we can see that it's been waxed on the inside here, and it's in relatively good order. However, Mr. Tappy's been along, and there are a few odds holes here and there. It's also starting to go along the bottom edge, specifically around here, and it's had some work on the back mount, which is why it looks better. So, having got this far, it seems crazy not to put a new sill on it, really, doesn't it? I will check with the customer that he's happy for me to put a brand new sill on this thing, because having gone this far, and having cut a lot of the metal out, so basically where I was chopping, this is the piece that went over the top of the sill, so you can see that there was no paint on it. A little bit of transport paint maybe, but nothing in particular. This is the L section, which goes along the reinforcing part under the edge of the sill, and you can see where the undersill has blown. And then on the other side, it started to blow through. Okay, so yes, it would have lasted another year, maybe two, but then it would have rotted through again, and again, and again. It had done a Mrs. Doyle. Again. Here's the piece which came from the back end up here, and it's in a similar state. You can see where there's like some kind of transport paint on the surface. It might have been some wax, proprietary wax kind of finish, but yeah, I think it's kind of got to the stage where whatever prep was on there, where it's sticky, it still is very sticky, but where it's kind of started to move away, that's where the surface rust is creeping in underneath. So I think really when this thing is done, it really is going to need a full underbody kind of prep. Now the chassis on the thing is all right. Most of it is actually just covered in sand. At the back end there is some surface corrosion, but nothing horrendous. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to drill through spot welds down here and see if I can separate the A post from the sill section here. And the main reason for that is in there is just full of rust. So while the A post is actually reasonably solid on the outside, it's fucking shocking on the inside. Similarly, on here, I'm going to have to go back and see if I can find the original edges. So the B post would have come down like this. Now the bottom of the B post is in good order. It needs tidying up, especially on this side, because someone's been along it with a welder, so I need to get in there with Mr. Flab. There's the line of the B post coming down there. Spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld. Take those out and see if I can separate the sill from the B post. And it also goes underneath, so I shall do it in segments. I don't really want to lose any datum points. There is a risk, of course, that the B post will move when I kind of start cutting this all away, but it could well be. There's a hole there as well. Look, a couple of holes down here. There's Mr. Tappy. Yeah, there's a hole there. I just see there. See those holes there. So there are holes on the inner sill section, which I could go along and patch each one individually, or I could replace the inner sill, keep the outer sill, or I could replace both. Interesting. But if I replace both, then body mounts get replaced as well, which looks serviceable. But you know, I'm just chuntering really, aren't I? It's really not very helpful, Richard. Oh, wing. It's not really a trial fit because I've not managed to get it in down here, but I just wanted to start seeing how it did fit. So I'm going to trim this edge back here, just so it goes past that edge there, and it should actually sit pretty much where I want it to go. I just wanted to line things up because these are going to go out to Steve the body for paint, and I just wanted to make sure that they were good. Now that's interesting. Why have they cut that out there? Weird. They seam sealed that, but they haven't seam sealed anything else. These are Froggett's inner wings, same as I used on the white A suffix that I did, the first car. I'll need to move the power steering reservoir because it's dropped down in there. Yeah, get myself sorted out. Epic afternoon. So I got the A post now free, so I can repair the inside edge of the A post, which you can see once I started drilling. I'm going at it with the wire cup. Yeah, it's a little bit compromised, but it's not beyond it, nor is the B post. B post is in very good order. You can see that's actually hanging free. But it still lines up with the inner sill markings, so happy enough with that. And then what I'll do is when I've got the sill back in place, I should take measurements from the passenger side, translate them across to the driver's side, just to ensure that everything's going to be in place. But it's quite a robust kind of structure, let's put it that way. And the only thing really that's holding the sill in place now is the 2 bolts for the mountings. So I'll have those off tomorrow, and then the remains of this old sill can come out. And then I'm going to need to work out how I'm going to get the new sill back in. It's going to have to go kind of up and under and behind the B post. I'm just going to see if I can get it behind the B post without chopping the bottom end of it off. I'd rather not, if I absolutely have, unless I absolutely have to. But I'd like to try and weld the inner and the outer sill together before I put it together. But it's not the end of the world if I don't, if you get my drift. So it could well be that I end up having to put the outer sill in first of all, hold it in place with a few clips and screws and things, then put the inner sill in, bolt it to the chassis, weld the 2 together. We'll see. Watch this space.